The Keys, by virtue of being one of the most vulnerable communities in the country, certainly to hurricanes, Irma was different.
Hurricane Irma showed us that when the storm came ashore, it brought a tidal surge which destroyed a lot of property.
The debris, as an example, 4 or 5 times greater than what they've normally had to deal with, 2.5 million cubic tons. That's a lot of rubble.
So there's a lot of infrastructure work that needs to be done, and I think that's going to end up coming out in taxes.
It opens everyone's eyes to the fact it is a very high-risk area.
We have some real challenges, especially with people who are emotionally tied to a specific footprint where their families grew up. And when you see the aftermath of a hurricane like Irma, it really causes a lot of people to really rethink where they want to put their families potentially in harm's way.
It's really important to look at a whole series of risks. And a lot of times when we look at risks, we separate them out. There's the risk of sea level rise, there's the risk of storm surge, there's the risk of extreme rainfall, and then how do those things come together?
Some of the data I've heard on the Atlantic side, 18-foot storm surge, on the Gulf side, 9-foot storm surge. It's like being in the middle of a washing machine, and how does a community survive that and then think through for the next one?
The effects of sea level rise are felt not only in Islamorada, but all along the Gulf of Mexico. Combining an existing surge model tool with an updated surge model developed by NOAA, the South Florida Regional Planning Council was able to simulate a number of possible hurricanes under different sea level rise scenarios. By including sea level rise projections for 2040 and 2060 into storm surge modeling efforts, these simulations showed the resulting amount of water that would flood Islamorada during future storms. These possible futures are integral for determining specific high-risk areas along the coast, as well as creating accurate evacuation zones, building codes, city emergency responses, and land use plans. In addition to modeling data, the Council conducted on-site infrastructure evaluations and interviews, incorporating local knowledge into the project report. The final result is a web portal containing the local feedback, specific findings, and interactive storm surge flood maps that compare present-day and future surge and can help users identify high-risk areas or check on the location of critical infrastructure. This project also made recommendations, including that new buildings be elevated higher than base flood elevation and a change in the high-risk area designation. Understanding the effects of sea level rise combined with storm surge is essential for communities across the Gulf to increase their resilience. For example, Alabama can also expect significant impacts from storm surge and rising seas. Future surge could cause over $4 billion worth of damage to Alabama homes. That's like putting almost $40,000 on every seat of a large football stadium. Along the pathway to resilience, reducing vulnerability requires filling the data gaps created by surge effects, similar to what was done in Islamorada. These data can be used to view projections of future surge under different sea level rise scenarios. Using the latest and most accurate tools to paint a fuller picture of present and future storm impacts will protect communities now and into the future. It's not enough to use historical data as a predictor of future impacts. New areas are impacted by storm surge and flooding as each year passes. Basing long-term planning on accurate long-term modeling will help coastal communities minimize hurricane impacts into the future.
There are areas that are more resilient than others, so understanding the data and understanding where to fortify and where to develop.
By knowing the risks, makes it so that we know where to target resilience efforts.
We are interested in seeing how we can use these models to predict our future.
Sometimes a hurricane or a natural disaster is what it takes to really take the bar and have to set it, even though those challenges require a lot of decisions to be made.
Resilience planning encompasses so much more than engineering and hardening an infrastructure. There always needs to be some component of the natural environment.
With all this knowledge, we're now budgeting and planning for the next future years.
If you look at economics, $1 in mitigation or planning can save $4 to $6 on the recovery side.
$1 million that you can invest in infrastructure that's going to save you $6 million down the road, that's very smart.
When you talk about the next step in all of this, it's really trying to provide an opportunity to talk with each other, because there's great information and there's great science.
It's absolutely essential for the community to buy into any type of action taken by local governments to increase resilience.
There is an extraordinary love and passion for this place. It will always be resilient, and it will always be spectacular.